everybody, Nicholas Hamblin here. Today I thought I'd dive into my pack and pull out my cook set and show you what I do to eat while on trail. I have to keep everything as compact and light as possible, so I think you'll enjoy what you have to see today, what I have put together over my decades of experience in backpacking. So I like to keep a bag in which I can put all my groceries in. Don't take a lot with me, mostly noodles, nuts. I'm running a little empty right now, but good opportunity to show you. I keep another bag which contains all of my parts for cooking. Well, let's start here. I use the Sea to Summit mesh sacks, because you can see through them, and any sand or other debris you get in there mostly falls out. For water, I like to use these 3-liter dromedaries with quick disconnects so that you're able to mate anything you need into the system. For filtering, I like to use the Life Straw. It disassembles, has a replaceable carbon element, and because it's openable, you can dry it out. Uses the thread filters down to 0.1 micron, which is plenty for all your nasties. Small stuff, just digest it, you'll be fine. It's a little difficult to prime, but once the bubbles are worked out, it works like a champ. About 20 minutes to filter 3 liters. There's 2 concepts that I use. One is the double bag, so I fill one with dirty, or whatever I collect from, hang it high, and then let it drip down through the filter into the other bag. But that's for another video. I just thought I'd show it to you since I've got the pack out. A little awkward to fold, but it does end up neatly. It sits nicely together with the filter. I put a little lanyard for hanging as well as wrapping it for stowing. Yeah, the trick is to keep the sand out of everything. Whoa, that's again a whole nother video. Like to keep extra Ziploc bags that are clean. Obviously, want to keep clean. You don't want to use a bag and once it's been sweltering in the sun and been used for a week or 2 already. Sure, you want them to last. You treat them as well as you can, but they're cheap and just roll them up, stow them in your pack, throw the box away. They'll last a while and they're a nothing weight to keep. Your only downside to a brand new roll pack is the bulk it takes. Kind of like putting on a new roll of TP. You know you're gonna need it. Extra lanyard for, well, whatever. It's just a convenient place to put it. Now for cooking, I use an alcohol burner. Let me grab that. As my phone falls into the sand. Plug that back in. Yeah, it's full, but why use the battery if you don't have to? Oh, wrong one. I store these extra 2 bottles. Half-liter, 500 milliliter bottles. One for alcohol fuel. I use heat. It's a line dryer additive for airlines. You find it on your regular automotive shelf, which means it's extremely plentiful. It's cheap. I think $3 or so is the most I ever pay for it. $1.89 or so at most truck stops. I've seen it at, between $1.89 and $2.75. But you're only going to pay, at the most $3 or $4 for it. A half-liter is really convenient because it comes in 350 milliliter quantities, and you don't want to be stuck with an overfill. So by the time I get down to 100 milliliters, I just go buy some more, and I'm able to keep several days of boiling water on board. For my stove, I use Vargo titanium. They're amazing. Made sure I got a set at a pretty reasonable discount, but I wanted to use it for a while before I showed it to everybody. It folds, and this is originally designed to be used for wood stove or a small stove. It folds up. It's called a Hexa stove. Ridiculously light, really strong. I try to treat it nice. You can see the beautiful coloring that titanium gets when you heat it. I like this because it has holes on the bottom in which debris can fall through. A nice little door on a piano hinge. Sure, it's thin. You want to be nice to it. It'll last you several lifetimes. Trying to level out a little spot always helps. So this allows for versatility in the event I don't have any more alcohol. It's zombies roam the earth. I can just get some twigs and I've got a good functional stove. I use the Sea to Summit collapsible kettle. It comes apart, has a great little lid and spout. Get to these little tiddly bits in a moment. And gives you a couple liter, 1.3 liter bottle or pot. You can boil or anything. You can see I get great use out of it. As long as you treat it nicely and think of where your flame's going. You can see I got a little scorch there. Oops. But these last me about 2 years apiece. Usually they'll still last a while longer, but you get to the point where just for sanity's sake, get a new one. I think they're 50 bucks, 40 bucks. It's made of silicon, which has a ridiculous temperature rating. The flame's at best going to discolor it. Your worst problem is these plastic handles definitely have a lower melting point. The bond from the, I'm guessing, aluminum to the silicon is quite clean. I have never had that leak. And it's just a snap to put together. I've done my best to keep it clean, but sometimes you burn on. This I've been using for about, since Christmas. It was a present from a friend of mine who saw that mine was getting a little nuddly. So I'm going to put this aside and show you how I get things loaded. I'm going to make some oatmeal today. I'm hungry and want something warm to eat. Back to the stove in Vargo, this is their igniter. This is a small alcohol puck stove. Has fluted holes and a fill baffle in the middle. The idea is it warms up and begins to vaporize to gas and allows it to expand through the jets, giving it a much more efficient burn time and heat quality. I give this thing a minute longer than a jet boil at altitude would ever be. So it begs the question, what's the best stove to use? Well, the lightest and most versatile, in my opinion, would be this. The reason being, there's nothing to go wrong short of losing it. Jet boils and other stuff, yeah, they're simple, but you've got to find components, you've got to find the isobutane canisters. They're a hell of a lot more than $3. This lasts me, better part of 3-4 days, which is all I can really hike in anyway. Hardest part's keeping water on the pack. Let's face it, 3 liters is barely enough for one day, one person. This you can't break. It has no moving parts, but this is it's amazingly robust. I could go on for days about it, but let's get on. This comes with a small folding tripod stand, which can be used just by itself as a open burner, or you can use it in the Hexa stove as a stand to bring the stove up a little higher in the Hexa stove. Personally, I rarely use it. I like the Hexa stove because it provides an amazing wind block, and that's really your biggest issue with a alcohol stove, is the flame is quite warm, but it's very slight. It's not like an isobutane under pressure. So that's its trade-off. Actually, I find that the fors on alcohol a lot more plentiful than the againsts. So to fill it, I carefully use this wide mouth so that when I'm done I can pour it back in. But to fill it, just carefully pour it in. Be like a Fremen, don't spill a drop. Yep. Yeah, there goes a few drops, my bad. But a few drops aren't going to be a problem. Always make sure to immediately recap your alcohol bottle. Trust me on this one, it's the best case habit. So now we're primed and ready to go. I'm going to let that sit there while I prep for oatmeal, which brings me to my next piece. This is a water nozzle. Really handy for cooking because this is a pain in the butt if you're trying to get any volume of water out of it. So I like to use this adapter when cooking. On to my food pack. Usually I keep it simple. I like the exotic trail mix. They're cheap. I think I paid $4.50 for this. And it lasts me, 2 days if I'm not too bad. Coffee, I like to keep about a pound or two. I like to get the bulk bin. Sumatra's my favorite, a nice dark brew. I use a modified MSR coffee filter. This used to have little orange legs coming off of it. Useless. So I tied some string onto it, and now I just do the good old-fashioned drip drop. Maybe I'll do a video on mountain coffee. Yeah, no, I'll definitely do a video on mountain coffee later. It's well worth the effort. Moving on. Knorr pasta sides have been my go-to. They're easy, cheap to make, way better than ramen fucking noodles. And you can split them in half and, not so bad. Usually I'm so hungry by the time I'm eating, I'm just going to do the whole thing. 3 or 4 of these are only going to run you about $5. I think there are $2.75, $3 for the most expensive one, and there's a very wide range of flavors to choose from, so you get some variety. Again, a nothing weight. Usually I prefer steel cut oats just because it has the full body, it has the oils, the husk, everything, and hasn't been rolled and pressed of all its, naturey goodness. In this case, I opted just for convenience sake a rolled oat medley, which has nuts and other great things into it. It's an apple date cinnamon thing. Again, the reason I carry the Ziploc bags is these are pretty much useless. I mean, they're great. They just end up being a hassle to trash with sharp edges, which in your pocket is annoying. I use my back right for the trash. Anyway, I digress. So, super easy. I just eyeball it at this point. It's usually about a 2-to-1 for rolled oats. Don't need much. About a cup or so in the bottom. If you're feeling froggy, help. Throw a few more oats in there. This is still about 2 days worth, or 2 meals worth left. Again, I always eyeball and oops. Make sure that it's lower than the water source in order for it to actually flow. I'll let that dangle there for a minute while I set the other implements away in a sand-free, sand-safe environment. That should just about do it. I like to mix it up with just a swirl. Now I could use a little bit more. Again, eyeball it, it's not super critical. In the worst case scenario, you're going to end up with dry oats, in which you just drink some water, you'll be fine. Best case scenario, it comes out perfect, and sometimes it just comes out soupy, and that's just life, I guess. I'm going to give this a swirl, let it meld with the water so it touches all of its surfaces, which actually is pretty important. It's what conducts the heat. And it's a very thin piece of aluminum, so you don't want any dry goods against it. That's what we call a hot spot. And in worst case scenarios has been known to burn through even a 10-tin, which, by the way, is what I used to use when I was a Boy Scout. I would clean it out and stick it on the end of my Coleman quarter-inch foam pad rolled up. It was about the perfect size, but this is Buck Lightyear Beyond Gear 7200. All it takes is a little bit of a flame. Maybe I'll take a night video of this sometime. Once it's going, you want to tuck it in there, kind of off center, a little toward the direction the wind's coming. That'll help keep the flame vortex centered. Add the lid for installation. Make sure to put these up. That's what helps keeping things from burning, at least on the edges as the flame licks around. One of the disadvantages to alcohol is that it, during the daylight, is an invisible flame, so use your senses. Imperative. Be smart about it. One of the safety features, if you can consider this a safety feature, is the amount of alcohol that's held in the cup. If you do spill it, you could literally just pee on it and you'll be okay. Throw some dirt over it. You can keep that little bit under control. Full bottle? Maybe not. That's why we practice safety first when dealing with flammable liquids. So for utensils, I found the Spork alternative. Comes folded like this. This is called, I forgot, the Human Gear. Yes. I've probably only looked at it once since I bought it, but put it in my mouth every day since I bought it. Anyway, it separates into this and reconnects into a full-on Spork, but you know, without all that stupid bullshit. Love this thing. I don't know if I'll ever buy another one as long as it doesn't break or anything. A little bit of discoloration from the heat of the pan, but that's the plastics. These, I'm not quite sure what they use, but I love that this nests and protects the tines, and it's very easy to use. For my eating knife, not my pocket knife, I use the Vargo Wharncliffe, which I've added a little lanyard for safety. This is a little tricky to get out of its case, but whatever. Super razor sharp, small, compact, weighs nothing, easy to maintain. This is something nice to eat with for a little civility. It's, you know, it goes back to my philosophy of backpacking is keep it light, but keep it right. And what keeping it right means is stuff just has a weight. A pint of water weighs a pound. You're not going to be able to change that. And you're going to need about 7 pints. 8, you know, a gallon to 2 gallons for a day or two, depending on your availability of water source and amount of stay power required for your journey. Realize that cutting your toothbrush in half is stupid. You've literally misunderstood the whole point of the exercise. Just use a regular toothbrush. Hell, I'll get into my toiletries on another issue, but I'd still even use a full-size tube of toothpaste and just know that that's what it's going to weigh. Anyway, I will get back to you when this is finished. There we go. Now we got a nice little boil to it. So I want it to get boiling, but not keep the liquid still. The mass needs to keep moving once it gets hot. Otherwise, it'll just, blend to the bottom. Burn to the bottom. Not fun. Even worse to try to clean on a pot like this. So your best bet and thought for longevity is going to be take care of it while you're cooking. Pay attention. Do the task at hand and pay attention to it. And it'll go quick and it'll be yummy. So I like to overboil it a little bit. Adds a little creaminess. Some people, once it starts rolling, like to just turn the flame off and let it congeal. One good puff down the middle, straight on, puts the flame out pretty well. Sometimes it'll blow a little side, and anyway, it's pretty self-explanatory. Let that sit for another 5 minutes and cool down. Oh, that's how I make oatmeal. And the food aspect to my pack. I wish you all the very best, and thanks for joining me on the beach. Bye.
Tricks the mind, tricks the body, tricks the mind, tricks the body, tricks the body, tricks the mind. The mind tricks the body, tricks the mind, tricks the body, tricks the mind, tricks the body, tricks the body, tricks the mind. The mind tricks, the body tricks, the mind tricks. The mind tricks. Body tricks. Tricks, mind tricks, the body tricks, the body tricks, mind tricks, the body tricks, the mind tricks, tricks. Tricks the mind, the mind tricks the body, tricks the mind, tricks the body, tricks the mind, tricks the body, tricks the body, tricks the mind, the mind tricks, the body tricks, the mind tricks. The mind tricks, mind tricks. Body tricks, tricks. The mind tricks, mind tricks. The mind tricks, tricks, tricks. Yeah. Ooh, time to fly.